Hello, hello. Welcome to Livestream Happy Hour. I am Kari Welch. I am hosting tonight. I am Lane Arts Council's Development and Communications Coordinator. We hope you enjoyed the introduction video from Fermata Ballet. We are about to dig in with this incredible new dance collective to learn all about how they started, their philosophy, their mission. So stay tuned. It's going to be a great evening. So Livestream Happy Hour started a year ago in response to the pandemic. We were already yearning for connection and missing our audiences and our artists connecting and getting together. So this gave us a way to connect artists and arts organizations to you. And over the past year, we have featured dozens of artists. And next week, we will feature the artist that we started this all off with. Cullen Vance will be here with Eric Raymond. So tune in next week to find out what Cullen has been up to for the past year. So we're going to dig in. Feel free to comment in the chat, ask questions. Otherwise, sit back and enjoy the conversation. So welcome, Fermata Ballet.
Hey!
Hi, guys. So why don't we start with introductions? Angela and Lindsay, why don't you start us off?
Thank you. Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be here this evening. My name is Angela Dunham, founder of Fermata Ballet Collective and co-owner, co-director of Flex Studios. We are thrilled to be here, and I am days away from giving birth to a beautiful baby girl named Dolly.
Yay!
So I'm glad could be birthing tonight.
Maybe here on live stream.
You never know. There's been crazier things. I'm Lindsay. I am also a founder of the Fermata Ballet Collective, very proudly so, and co-owner director of Flex Studios, local dance studio. We're located downtown Eugene. We're just so grateful to be here and share a little bit of our intention with your audience. So thank you, Kari.
You're welcome. Jim.
Hi, my name's Jim Ballard, and I'm a Fermata Ballet Collective founder. And I'm excited to be here. I can't wait to dig in and answer questions and talk about dance.
Yes. Awesome. Jessica.
Hello, I'm Jessica. I'm also a Fermata Ballet Collective founder. Been dancing for over 35 years and excited for what we're going to talk about today.
And Ashley.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm a Fermata Ballet Collective member, and that's all.
Yeah. You are much more than that. You do
other stuff too. I do, yeah. I work at an American traditional barbershop and say a real thing about myself, I guess.
Alasia.
Hi, my name is Alasia Badalich, otherwise known as Lage. I am a founder of Fermata Ballet Collective and on faculty at Flex, Escape, and Eugene Ballet. I am also a professional dancer and young and upcoming choreographer.
Yes. Yay. Cool. Okay. So during a time in which arts organizations were shutting down, the start of the pandemic last year, you guys did something different and a little bit crazy, maybe. What did you do?
A lot.
You're like, let's start a business. Let's start something. But so yeah, everything was shutting down. Everything was getting canceled. Contracts were being rescinded. It just was such an empty time for dance, for performing arts, for community. And Fermata means a pause of undetermined length. And when we were in that height of that shutdown in, March, April, May, June, it felt so long. You felt so disconnected. People lost jobs, people lost auditions, people lost performances, people lost contracts. And this was a way for us to take that pause and kind of reclaim it in a very safe and healthy way. So 7 of us got together at McNinneman's and we're like, how can we continue to dance under these conditions and provide not only a physically safe space, but also a mentally and socially safe space for people to experience dance again. At that point, we were still in our homes trying to dance around furniture. And we looked at places that we could utilize and rent and, follow COVID measures. But this was a way when all those opportunities were taken away. But I saw this as kind of a way for people to continue their resume building experience, to keep in shape professionally and also to keep in shape physically, to still create during a time when nothing was being created, and kind of like this prolonged professional development session for all of us during this pause, where we can come out of this year, not being like, well, I did nothing, but we can come out of this year being like, we did everything. And like and so just a way to keep working and to not stop dancing.
Yes, Jen.
That is awesome. So you describe yourself, you describe yourself as a collective. So what does that mean, and how does that differ from other structures of dance organizations or dance companies?
Yes, Kari, thank you for that question. It's an important one to us. The choice to use the word collective in our branding was very intentional over a word such as company, both due to the overusage of the word company, especially in our local performance arts scene, dance scene, but more so in a traditional structure, the word company really implies a certain hierarchy in an institution. And foundationally, we have found, as dancers that have been in the industry many, many years, that can be very toxic and destructive to an organization, where Fermata intentionally chose an egalitarian approach where participants would have equal voice, equal opportunity, equal representation, that decisions would be made openly, respectfully, that we weren't going to shy away from complicated dialogue or necessary dialogue to make sure that we were starting in the healthiest place we could as an arts organization, witnessing, the trauma that dancers have experienced, potentially carry lifelong, or will discourage them from continuing in the industry, and starting at a place where we could problem solve efficiently to figure out how do we avoid, how do we heal, how do we combat some of the really dated ideologies that I think COVID and the pandemic and where we are socially started to kind of really tear open, especially in the Euro classical dance, right, ballet world. It was time to challenge certain terms and philosophies and kind of norms that really aren't serving artists anymore, in a way that we didn't need to be fearful to have those difficult conversations or reevaluations or contributions that will lead to an equitable and healthy performance art and dance experience that ideally starts in our local community and then spreads much farther as an exemplary ballet company, and we'll kind of revisit that later in the show. But really making sure that those equities are there, that witnessing is there, that the acknowledgement that artists deserve, and safety, right? Safety and wellness.
And as a collective, using that action word of collectively coming together for our meeting, collectively making decisions, collectively deciding, how we want to move forward, and, collectively talking things out and using that. So it's not an exclusive and hierarchical structure, but it's such an egalitarian way to create art rather than down the line.
So you're really kind of shaking things up from like the foundations of where arts organizations have been. And I mean, that doesn't just apply to dance companies and dance organizations, but to many arts organizations out there. Right. So what do you hope to accomplish with this structure? Alasia, what are you hoping to get out of this, the way you guys have set this up?
I think for myself and for all of us, speaking for all of us, we hope to accomplish a pause in time that says something, that speaks loud, that shows that there's more to starting something in chaos in the world, it speaks volumes. We're literally making a way out of no way. And when you start to do it like that, it takes away, like, we think of all the possibilities of what it can be, and we all know all the possibilities of what we don't want it to be. So we collectively share values, and when you share values in a organization, you're able to highlight your voices, highlight each other's stories. You're able to exchange great relationships with each other, where everyone feels heard and respected, and not afraid to be called out at the same time, not afraid to be wrong, because they know they can speak up for themselves, or vice versa. But yeah, I think Fermata has like saved my life, coming from someone who graduated professional dance school, was on my way to a company, had 3 contracts, was going to make a decision, and couldn't even make one because COVID kind of destroyed and took away from like part of the beginning of what I would think would be the brink of my career almost. So when I entered that state of my life and lost not only contract jobs but lost people in my life, Fermata was there to like be my backbone and to have some sort of structure, especially for someone who's faced a lot of adversity in my life. Structure is really important. And so, yeah, I feel like we have a tremendous amount of goals.
Yeah.
The main one is to always keep our doors open to literally everyone.
So that does speak to this philosophy of inclusion that Fermata has. So, you know, what is that to you, and like, why is that so foundational, important to who you guys are?
I think it's 2021, and to be honest with you, a white cis person can walk on stage and literally be anything that they want to be, and everything else is seen as other or abstraction that is something else, or not, or less than, or not important. And so when we strip away that, like, when we can admit to like that cognitive that ingrained system inside of us, we're able to actually move forward. And it is about inclusion, but it's not just about saying it, it's about actually doing it. So you're actually highlighting the voices that need to be heard, rather than just like saying that you are, or plastering it over on social media to do good by others. And then there's other people that will just stay silent. So that's a choice. And it wouldn't be one I would want to make. It's one I don't have the choice to make, actually. So
it's easy for people to change their website.
Yeah.
Actually do the work. Right?
Or a lack of openness for reevaluation and continued growth. You know, sometimes an organization will release a diversity statement or rebrand, reimage, but are you continuing to have those conversations? Are you continuing to reflect and listen? You know, Fermata continues to make priority mission that reevaluation, and like Alicia said, accountability, right? That you need to be listening in a non-defensive way to continue to grow as an organization.
So you're really leading the way when it comes to how to actually live an organization that is inclusive. But that, I mean, and that's, I imagine that's not just inclusive of race, but I heard you all speak about inclusivity in many different ways. How is it inclusive in other ways?
I think besides POC, we have different people. We have people that walk through our doors of different genders, different sexual orientations, different people, different areas of life. Older people to younger kids. Like, we've walked through to professional dancers bringing their career, to people who have already had careers. So not only are we diverse in like the way that we represent ourselves, but also in the people that walk through our doors. We have literal proof of like people who have said, thank you for creating a safe space. Like I said, so when we did a workshop in Portland, one of the first things Fermata's ever done in September a while ago was thank you for creating a safe space. And after not dancing in front of anyone for a long time too during the shutdown, like that's one of the most important things to create as well. But yeah.
Ashley, when we were talking before, you were talking about how you took, time off from dance for a long time because of the atmosphere. So you can describe what that process was for you.
So I just came back. I mean, maybe 2 years ago, I started at Flex with Lindsay and Angela, and I hadn't been dancing for about 10 years prior to that. And I moved to Eugene when I was about 21, and had been in a ballet company in Utah, and was not, I wanted to dance still, but it wasn't that important because I wasn't really looking into getting into another clique. I'd just gotten out of a clique. I was like, that's cool. I'm cool just being by myself for a while, I guess. Like a breakup, maybe.
Yeah.
So, and I had to find myself for 10 years, I guess. But it's kind of I didn't realize it at the time really, but it was kind of a toxic environment, and we don't know that when we're in it all the time.
Yeah.
And dance is beautiful, dance, even in toxicity, it can be beautiful still. And what you take from it can still be beautiful, but that doesn't mean that the toxicity isn't there and still like just edging its way deeper into you, I guess.
Yeah.
Forever. But super grateful that I found Lindsay and Angela, and that they were part of this, creating Fermata as well. Like, it's such an amazing group. I could not have asked for anything better. I wish that I had this when I was a kid, when I was like in my prime or whatever. Like, this would have been a game changer. And I'm just so excited for younger dancers to be able to experience something like this. Like, I think that the world's really changing, and it's super exciting, and this is part of that. And I think this will be the norm sometime. Hopefully.
Yeah, and seeing it happen globally and internationally is like this. I think even Dance Magazine or Dance Media was like the rise of the small collective. Is people are leaving these big companies, they're leaving these toxic structures, they're realizing like, this isn't how I want to be treated. This isn't, I'm not being valued, or I'm not being heard. And, we had that pause to really think about it. And this is kind of a global movement right now of people pulling away and finding people with like-minded values and restructuring the way art is created, restructuring what art means, what bodies you see on stage. And so, yeah, it is a really exciting time.
Yes.
Jim, you had described some of the things that dancers go through when we were talking before about, what it's like to be in the dance world. Could you speak a little bit to that?
Sure. So, like we're saying about toxicity and things like that, and how dance is beautiful and it's artistic, and there's a lot of things we put up with. And as a dancer, as a performer, you just put up with the crap because, there's someone above you who tells you what to do. And if you don't do it, there's someone who's next to you or whatever that's willing to do it. Not only that, it's like a lot of dancers, whether you start out young or in your teens or whatnot, you are trained to do whatever it takes, right? To do whatever it takes, to sacrifice what you eat, sacrifice your time, sacrifice, your friends, and so when you keep doing that, you allow yourself to compromise a lot of things, and eventually, you get to the point where you might compromise yourself or your morals. And I think that goes all the way to people who are in charge as well. Some people might start a company with the intention of creating something new and all original, but then they end up doing exactly what other companies do. and creating that toxic environment. And dancers and performers, like I said, that we just put up with it. And that's what's beautiful about the structure of Fermata, is that it's a new foundation. It's a foundation without any of those cracks, without any of those things that would allow that kind of toxicity to seep in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yes. That trauma too. So like what Jim's saying about how much you put up with, right? And so for us, a big part of having to rebuild those foundations has been trusting one another, right? Like being able to make a mistake and being held accountable, but also how deep those traumas run in people, whether that's, experience from a young child, their teenage years, or even as adults. We have adults that come in to the studio or want to be involved, and they say, I haven't danced since I had this awful experience. And it's so sad to us because dance is so beautiful and it's so healing and it's about your body and your mind, and we all need it. We all need it to survive. I mean, that's how we felt, of course, when this pause happened. We're like, we can't be pausing. So, so it's been interesting to kind of watch that and navigate that, because we're our own like mental health professionals as well, and for each other, and to navigate with one another in that way. You really get to learn a lot about the people you're creating with, which is lovely. But also
sometimes we go on little hikes together through the woods and have little retreats.
Yes, and being patient with one another, right? Because those sources of trauma are so significant. And, how do you trust somebody who's, you came from a place where, like Jim was saying, the intention was to start that way, but that's not how it ended up. So how are we different? And all we can do is continue to work in that way and talk through it and just say, hey, like, this is who we're going to be, and we're going to continue to do the work, and hopefully you'll trust in us to do it with us,
Yeah. And I think you can't change a model, unless you somewhat change the individual themselves. I mean, I was a dancer as well. And so the individuals have to be told that you don't have to put up with this, and you don't need to be treated this way to be a dancer. So it's really commendable that you guys are there to train young dancers to say, hey, you have ownership over your art and over your own body and who you are. It's an incredible message.
I think
that is so, like, I grew up dancing. Sorry, were you thinking it? Okay. Like what Jim was saying almost brought tears to my eyes, because I grew up dancing in between like the 80s, 90s, and early aughts, when it was all about being thin. It was all about the patriarchal structure. I mean, I lived off of soup. I was smacked in the face. I was, hit with sticks. I was yelled at by old white men about which classes I couldn't take because I was a female. Like, we had to endure sexual harassment from donors, or just general harassment from donors. And we were told not to say anything because where the money came from. And, to me, I didn't recognize that as wrong or trauma until probably maybe 10 years ago. Like, I lived through it, and you accepted it. And then becoming on the back end of administrative and directorships and seeing how it's so ingrained, it was an eye-opener. And not only are we learning things, but at least in my generation, I'm unlearning so much. And it's like Fermata is kind of a daily therapy session for me to realize, now as someone, in my late 30s, am I still a ballerina? Am I still a ballet dancer? And I always thought, well, no. But now I'm like, well, I guess I am, and it's changing the narrative of how we treat ourselves and how we want to express ourselves.
Right, because you can't be exclusive if you say, well, I'm no longer in my or mid 20s or 30s, and I'm no longer a dancer, right? I think, what was it? Not that I'm picking on you, Ashley, but you said something in my prime. I hear that a lot. And as dancers, we hear, when I was in my prime, I'm like, when What? Why? Why does your career end or your dance and world end in your mid-20s to early 30s? Like, it can keep going, and it should keep going, because we invest all this time and all this energy and all this effort just to end it so early in one's life. And I think with Fermata, we're like, screw that. So that's another inclusive thing, right?
Yeah.
Not just with age, not with just age or physical ability or mental or race or whatever. Inclusivity.
I had absolutely given up. Like, I thought I was done.
And with the other way.
They're like, you're not done. Like, well,
I'm still figuring out which direction to go. Sorry, Jake.
Angela, did you have something to say?
I just wanted to piggyback a little bit off Jim and Jess regarding, an organization can potentially have the best of intentions when they start, right? What we found in Eugene specifically, since nor Lindsay or I are from here, right, we're transplants, is that often when a dancer spoke up in a company setting, or the community spoke up in a company setting, humans are brilliant, and we can normalize or rationalize or explain our way around almost anything, to the point where others believe what we're saying, or you can convince someone that they are wrong in a conversation in which their feelings are very valid or experience is very valid. And so when you take away that authoritarian fear, or we all know the power that we hold in the studio when someone is raised and groomed to listen to you and follow direction, right? And that's where I think it goes south for a dancer's experience, is that instead of really listening and being heard, they're kind of told how they feel, or potentially what the repercussions of how they feel are, right? And then what we saw is that all of these brilliant dancers were leaving Eugene, and we sat down, having taught 15 years in this community, and asked ourselves, like, why do dancers leave? Why do these amazing, talented, brilliant people come in from all over the world and leave? And what can we do to offer a healthy environment and a fair pay scale, and a really, we shy away from cutting edge, but it's important too, because you may have a dancer that really wants to create work, but they're told that you're just a dancer, you're here to set my vision on. So how can we really shake some of those things up and reassess? But I feel so sad and feel that it's imperative to honor the dancers that did try to bring topics to the surface, or awareness of their experience, that were silenced or manipulated or demeaned and berated into leaving,
Right.
And an intention to turn that around.
Because dancers aren't just puppets or set pieces to be moved around. They are artists themselves.
Absolutely.
And
Human.
Yep.
Human.
So one of the things we haven't talked about is, the word ballet was important for you guys to keep in the title of the collective. Tell me why.
I am also the dance columnist for the Register Guard. I'm fortunate to have a voice in our dance community once a month in that publication. And for me, answering that question, it started with an article when the Boys Dance 2, #BoysDance2 movement story really broke, and starting to question what some of the associated terms regarding, again, Euroclassical, white, heteronormative ballet are. And because I am a cis white woman, how could I step out of my own experience to evaluate casting experience, pay experience, discrimination experience, with those kind of automatic visuals that come with the word ballet? And how can, as a collective, can we own our training and our technique and our gifts and challenge that word to be something that is much more progressive and interesting in regards to, sharing our very first performance, one of the audience members expected a storybook ballet. Oh, I thought you were going to do a storybook ballet, right? Jim is our prince. We have a princess.
Saves us,
right?
He saves us.
And we intend to be so much more than a storybook ballet. So it's been really fun and exciting to challenge and reinvent that word ballet while honoring how important it is to our lives and track, and also how much more we have to offer. Yeah.
So you're not ballet in the terminology that people would expect of ballet. So describe your movement style. What is your movement style, and what are your major influences?
Oh, my goodness, there's so many influences. I think because the way we work, we're all artists on our own individually. We all have kind of side projects. We own studios. We work for multiple places and people. And so bringing that variety of training and experience is one of the coolest things, because you're going to learn and gain that much more from one another. So, I mean, we do it all, Kari. We do it all.
No, it's more important. Kari,
Yeah.
you shared that you were
Yeah.
a dance major, right? So
Yes.
go back to your advisory
Yeah.
sessions where you had to have your 5-day a week of ballet technique, and then you got 2 electives for the others, right? Maybe you wanted to take tap, or maybe you wanted to take jazz, but why this valued importance on one genre over the others?
Mhm.
Why this philosophy that the ballet is the foundation of everything else? That's a really edgy topic in the dance world.
Yeah.
Love that we wear a million hats, and that those multi-genre years influence our work, whether we get cast or whether we get to create, and how we're still navigating that in a time where performance venue is really limited, right?
Right.
Like we wear a lot of hats, and we're very proud of that. So what would we be serving this industry to limit those labels or titles?
Right. When I was a dance major, you had 2 choices. You could be a modern major, or you could be a ballet major, and that was it. And you still, even if you were a modern major, you had to still take ballet every term, at least 3 days a week. Yep.
Of course. Jim, can I get a witness, Jim?
Yeah.
Give me those jazz hands. For you.
I would also like to add about what our style is. For me, when we've worked together and I've taken class or watched or what have you, I look at it as the root of dance, where dance really began, because not like ballet was here, right? But then dance actually started way over here. We used to dance for food. We used to dance for the gods. And it didn't matter who you were, as long as you were in the tribe, you danced. It was a more spiritual thing, and it wasn't until later till we decided, no, that's not dance. This is dance. You have to turn your foot out here, and then this is what it is. Which that's how it's evolved is great, but I like to think of it as we're going back to its roots, of how it feels and how it comes from within us, rather than what we see and then putting it on ourselves.
Well, I have a clip of your work, and this is a piece that's choreographed by Alasia. So I'd like to just show it, and then we can talk about this just 60 seconds of one piece.
Yeah.
Awesome. So that was Doors by Alasia. So Alasia, tell me about this piece.
Doors was created in November, right before our second shutdown. Unexpectedly, I had just started making new work after finishing the process, and I ended up filming outside unexpectedly. We had worked in the studio this whole time. This was the only day that we did outside, and we were out there for a few hours due to just trying to figure it out in the dirty mud, and it was cold out, and my dancers were freezing, and they were good sports, and I had like towels so they could dry their feet off and like take a second if they got like wet or mud on them. But the piece is basically about the saying, one door closes, another one opens, and so I experienced that a lot in this time, and kind of wanted to capture what that felt like. And in that moment, in the process, I had to do that for filming. I had to like find a way out of no way, which is literally our reference for Fermata, and Fermata wouldn't have came to me if I didn't close one door to open another. So it just universally made a full circle, and it was a wonderful time. We only worked about 3 weeks in this process. It was very quick, and it was wonderful. Definitely navigating outside had its tricks and flips, and I learned a lot in the process.
So you had kind of rehearsed it in the studio, and then you had to move it outside for filming.
Due to COVID stuff.
Due to COVID. Who were any of you in the piece?
No.
That are on here? Nope.
Nope.
No, some of our other members were in that piece. But on our show, Jim, you were in one of the in-studio pieces that we were able to film inside.
Yes, how to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think, what's so lovely about Alasia's piece is she's so gifted as a choreographer, and the dancers supporting her are so talented that 60-second clip looks simple, right? Yeah. Their facility, their balance, their connection to one another. And like Alasia acknowledged, they were cold, their muscles were cold, the grass is wet, there's other distractions. We as dancers get quite spoiled with the environment, typically, that we're provided for rehearsal space or filming space. You get a special floor, you get a warm up, there's a lot of care that goes into a setting, and the adaptability of those dancers to make that look virtually effortless and to be emotionally connected to it, and to honor Alasia's visual and intention of her piece is really, really cool. And I think when you just sit back and watch, there's a lot more challenges with something like that than there are privileges or successes, and they slaughtered it, and it's absolutely captivating, and it speaks to in my opinion, what makes our Fermata members and participants and founders really special artists, because it's all heart,
I think it's even more captivating that it is outside, because as an audience member, we so expect to see things in a studio or on a stage, that to see dance in unsuspecting places is always refreshing to me. You guys have done other outdoor performances, correct?
Yeah. Yes, we did Beam, the outdoor show. It was at night. We had lighting. It was part of an interactive exhibit. We danced for 3 hours straight on concrete.
On concrete.
Yeah. But that was another thing. It was really fun to create that piece. That piece was created knowing that we were going to be outside on concrete. So we were able to adapt our movement style and the amount of floor work or jumps we did. So yeah, we've done that one. There's also another upcoming piece that takes place outside during the shutdown. And then we've done 2 filmed pieces indoors.
And I think the Beam piece is actually on your website, which I have up here. There's you can find it on your website there, as well as information about classes that you guys are teaching, which are kind of open to the community, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So what's next for Fermata? Where do you go from here? And how does that change what the meaning of your name is? Or does it?
That's a great question, Kari. So we're really excited for the future of Fermata. I mean, there's so many things that could happen, that will always be changing and evolving. I think some of our personal goals for each individual and as a group are everything, right? Everything. So everything from 501c3 status. We would love to, write for grants and help to fund some of these projects and bring artists in from all over the world, nationally, internationally, and really find inspirational, educated, representative people who want to be involved. That's, priority for us, because those are the people who our younger artists will look to and be inspired by, because we're not just, it's like one thing to teach, but you're a mentor, right? And that privilege of instruction is very much taken advantage of. And that's, and when I say that, we were talking about some of the issues that we've faced traumas wise, that's on a local level. That's right here in your own little sweet, city of Eugene, as well as all over the world. So when we talk about these traumas, it's happening right under your nose. So really grabbing onto that, the importance of who you are and how you're educating. I think that progressive work. We really want a group of voices who are inclusive, and like we keep going back to that safe space narrative. You really have to create that, because we have found after so many years of experience, like if you don't create that safe space, then your dancers aren't willing to really give those parts of themselves. And when they do, it's like hot fire. Yeah. It's incredible. It's incredible to watch. And then, you're crying in the background because you're just so proud. Like Jess said, it's like, yes, stuff brings you to tears, because it's so emotional and it's so, so rewarding. But we want a place where people feel honored and valued for their own individual expression in art, and finding those people who agree on the same moral intent. And that's why collective is so.
Oh,
and she's gone.
Oh,
maybe
no.
she'll come back.
I wanted to kind of, again, use the word, I would piggyback on that. Is when we started, it was just 7 of us. And it's now grown to, 13 members who we work with and rehearse with. And then about 70 to 80 people from the community who come in to take classes with us, plus another 80 to 100 people who've viewed our shows online, probably another 100 who viewed our shows outside. And so we've grown from these 7 individuals to around 400 to 500 people that we've interacted with and worked with, and have helped us grow. And I think starting this in the middle of a pandemic, right? I just didn't expect. Oh, you're back! Hi. I'm just so
Sorry, we don't even
glad and honored and blessed that this is growing at the rate it is.
That is awesome. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are growing. But okay, speak to the name. So your name is Fermata, which is pause. So how does that take on new meaning?
Lage.
As I hear a lot now, as vaccinations start to become more eligible, I hear a lot of like, oh, we're gonna go back to normal and like blah blah blah. But like, if we go back to normal, I don't want to go. So we stay true to our name. We hold pause to be a reminder of this time, to be a reminder to check yourself before you wreck yourself. to be a reminder of you can get through anything if you have people that share the same values with you. And yeah, to just always hold and stay true to that name. Also to remind people to take a pause, take a rest.
Say that last part again.
Also reminding people to take a pause.
This is what happens. This is called show business, friends.
It's called adaptability. Like behind the scenes, and we have all potted up together, COVID-free. No COVID. I also look like a marshmallow, so enjoy. Dolly.
Honestly, like I do live performance all the time, in person, and like nothing scares me more than like Zoom or live stream like this when it comes to deck, because I feel like I have so little control over what is going to happen right now.
Yep. I feel like I was on a flow doing great with that question, and then I just got cut off.
Okay, I wrapped it up for you.
Jessica wrapped it up really nice. And I think what Alasia just said is so important, that when we come out of this, that we are not going back to normal, that we remember the lessons that we've learned throughout this past year as we move forward into, in creating a new world and a new structure of being able to do things. So like before we wrap up, we've got like 8 minutes left. But so I want you guys to tell me about what you're doing for National Dance Week.
So during that National Dance Week, I think it's 16th through the 24th, we're offering all of our classes and workshops for free. So it's going to be about 5 or 6 different faculty, FBC or Fermata faculty members. And we're going to invite people into our space, both in person and via Zoom. And we're excited to work with the community. All ages are welcome, all levels are welcome. And we're working with the city to post that schedule on the City of Eugene Dance Week website. So I think right now it's going to be Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays will be the days that we're going to be offering those free classes and free workshops. And then we also might have a little surprise video come out that week too. We're working on a little something. So hi, kitty cat. But yeah, that'll be a really fun thing to get the community hyped about dance again.
And so they can find out, the audience can find out all about that on your website.
So right now, not yet. We will post it. I'm in contact with the City of Eugene, solidifying all of our dates and times and workshop leaders. But we will, weekly, we do post our schedule on our Instagram and Facebook pages. So Fermata Ballet Collective on Instagram, Fermata Ballet Collective on Facebook, and then also fermataballetcollective.com. And you can always email us too, and we'll give you locations and links.
And Cultural Services, I believe, is posting all of the National Dance Week, right? Activities that you can participate in, as well as there's going to be a big, beautiful kickoff a Friday evening where lots of different Eugene dance community members, companies, collectives, studios will participate. So it's going to be great.
Awesome. So we have just 5 minutes. You guys have any last parting words that you want to put out there into the world before we say goodbye?
We're fun. We're fun, Carrie. You know?
Even worse than a cat.
We can. Flexible, you know? We're fertile. Oh, see, look at that. Killing it. Look at that extension. What are you talking about? That's your prime, girl. That's your prime. There it is.
I'm in my prime.
That's right, girl. Yes.
I think remembering, that like exactly what Lindsay's saying is that you can be yourself and find a place where you fit and are valued and appreciated. And that if you don't feel good in the environment that you're in, you aren't forced to stay, no matter what potential tactic is used, a contract or whatever.
You have choice.
You have choice, and we're seeing so many dancers come home or branch out. So if you're a young dancer, older dancer, whatever, wherever you are in your career, right, find the place that you feel good, and don't be afraid to challenge that at a risk of loss, because it's not a loss, right? It's a transition, and we really intend, for as cheesy as it can sound, for Fermata, although it was a temporary solution, using the word, right, pause, we have we intend for it to be a long-term solution. And so, come hang out with us. It's cool. Gone for like 90 days. I'm back.
We'll have a new little tiny Fermata member.
Yeah. Very soon. Very soon. So thank you guys so much. I'm just going to close up here. The arts organizations can't exist without you patrons. So please, if you're watching this, please consider a donation to an arts organization, if not to Fermata Ballet Collective or to Lane Arts Council, to an arts organization that you really love. And while you're at it, get out and donate to a civil rights organization. We can make a difference in this world, one person at a time, and collectively, we can really change the world. So thank you all. Thank you, Fermata Ballet.